Welcome to Lyte Talks. My name is Nakima Lyte, licensed clinical social worker, and you have just tuned in to Lyte Talks, where we are sharing on spiritual maturity, relational intelligence, and emotional wellness. And in my last video, I started a new series around navigating body image. And I know it's been a little bit of time in between, but I will definitely have a catch up with me video to talk more about that. Today, I want us to get into the second part of the series on navigating body image. Good morning! Good morning! Okay, in that first video on navigating body image, if you have not watched it, make sure that you check it out. We got into where it all started, and we looked at the Garden of Eden and established that God made us, and everything that he creates, he created and declared that it was good. And when sin came into the world, not did it only impact us spiritually and emotionally, it also impacted our bodies. And we see shame introduced to our body image very early in the game. So today I want us to talk about the messages that we experience or that we're hearing internally or externally that impact our body image every single day. I want to start by talking about mental script. And that's what I call a series of belief systems that we have created and established and recorded over the course of our life that shape and impact the way that we see things. So we can have a mental script or a belief system around parenting, around work, around mother, around father, around body image. And when situations are presented, we pull from our mental script and we respond or make decisions based on that. Now, our mental script is cultivated and evolves over the course of our life. And my hope is that through this series, we can make minor or major adjustments to our mental script around body image. So with our mental script, we have internal and external messages that get pulled when a situation presents itself. For example, if I've heard messages around my body and my appearance that were negative, insults, jokes around me being fat, me being overweight, and I have the situation presented where I'm in a dressing room looking for a new outfit, and I put something on and I look in the mirror and I hear the voice, "You can't wear that." Now, these automatic responses that pop to our consciousness, often we're unaware we're pulling from a mental script that has been with us for a lifetime. We say things like, "Nobody like a girl with a flat butt," right? But where are these messages actually coming from? It's our mental script. And we have the ability to shape and evolve and adjust those things that pop up constantly when situations are presented. So secondly, I want us to look at messages. Now, messages come from all types of places, and not every message is verbal, right? We communicate non-verbally as well. Sometimes the messages are louder when we're not even saying something. The messages that I'm going to be talking about today are all external. And I'll start with family, right? We get messages from our family very early that shape our body image in the way that we think of our parents. Whether they're compliments, whether they're jokes, whether they're insults, whether they're looks or grimaces, they impact the way that we see ourselves and they shape the way in which we view our body. Related to family is our cultural identity, right? We have so many different ethnicities that we can identify with, and oftentimes those cultural identities come with views and a mental script for body image, whether it be women are supposed to be sexy, thin, have a big butt, have long hair, whatever it is. In specific cultural identities, there has an impact or a shaping and influence in the way that we see our bodies very early on. Now, as we're growing up and as we're developing and making new relationships and connections, we also start getting messages from our peers and from our friends. Now, this is where comparison starts to come into play, and we begin to look at the grass being greener on the other side, and those definitely impact the way that we see our body, our shapes, and our sizes. And starts happening right around adolescence and really into young adulthood, where we have the impact or the messages from our friends shaping our body image. Related is the messages that we might get from romantic partners or potential romantic partners, people that we got a crush on, whatever it is. And those, they can be really, really impactful. And oftentimes it's the things that are not said that can impact and shape the way that we view our body and our appearance. But I want us to be mindful that people sharing their opinion, they have a right to. The way that it is internalized and that we take that in, that's what we have control over. So we need to be mindful of that. I know no one can deny the impact of the media on our body image. All right. And when I mean media, I mean movies, shows, social media, the news. There are messages that we're constantly hearing and embracing around our bodies. Now, if I consider the messages around our Black and brown people, we can hear and we see the message of your body is dangerous, you're a weapon, you're a threat, you're violent, you're aggressive. Those are messages that shape the way in which we look at ourselves and shape the way others look at us. If I lean into culture a little bit more, I can think about, as a woman of color, in the work environment, I'm also getting messages, right? So if I want to wear my hair kinky, curly, coily, if I want to wear big hoop earrings, if there's certain attire that I want to wear, I can get messages that I am not professional, and not necessarily the truth or a lie, but the idea that certain messages based on my appearance can shape my body image even in my work environment. And lastly, I want to talk about the messages that we get from church. And notice, I did not say from the Bible, but church, because oftentimes by the time we get to church, messages from the Bible are distorted and disseminated to us that impact our body image. Now, I mentioned this a little bit in the first video, right? Before my relationship with Christ, the message was, show me your body. When I entered into the church in my faith journey, the messages that I got around my body was, cover it up, it's a problem, it's a threat, you need to put it away. Now, two ends of the spectrum, right? And there's shame attached to that body, the fact that this body is causing a problem. And say, for instance, when I started my faith journey, I was straight out of college, about 22 years old, had nothing but party clothes, and also no conviction about my attire yet, right? Because conviction comes from the Holy Spirit, not from people. And my experience going into a church one time was being sat in the back, being given a white sheet to put over my lap, even though there was no verbal communication, the message was very loud and clear. What you're wearing is inappropriate. You are not welcomed here. Never went back to that church, and it could be other people's experiences because of that message. So overall, what I want us to do is to be mindful of how messages that we share or we receive impact the body image of others and ourselves. You know, think of yourself in positions of leadership, whether that be as a parent, as a pastor, as a teacher. Our words and our messages are shaping and influencing those that are under us around their body image and their appearance. So be careful. Now I want to look at our experiences, because our experiences shape the way in which we look at our body. There's the body that's been objectified or sexualized, and those experiences can impact our value system in our body. The fact that we are more valuable with the less clothes that we have on. Secondly, we have the body that was abused or used. And this can impact our body image and our ability to even connect with others. Say we might fear or be disconnected from physical touch or physical affection because of experiences of physical or sexual abuse in our childhood or even growing up. We have the body that's been ignored or ridiculed, right? These are experiences of being constantly bullied, insulted, remarks about our appearance or our body that can really cover us in shame around our body image and the way that we see ourselves. And number 4, I consider body betrayal. Now, if you're teetering around 30 or maybe you've passed that already, you might be able to relate to this one, where our bodies, in a sense, in one season or other in our lives, betray us. They don't operate the same way in which they used to, right? I can't eat whatever I want and still have a six-pack. Well, I never had a six-pack, but you know what I mean. And it could be also because of just changes in our experience. Say, for instance, if I had a major accident and my body is now physically ailed, or I have some type of illness where my physical body is not functioning in the way that it should. Or even after having children, our bodies shift as women and they operate differently. Body betrayal can bring a lot of frustration and a sense of hopelessness because we are fighting against or wrestling against what we once knew. I encourage us to be able to accept our bodies in different seasons as we're evolving and changing. And lastly, looking at experiences is the loved or the honored body. The interesting thing is, this one is an outlier and it's the minority of our experiences. But yet, when we have the experience of a loved or an honored body, we often have a level of satisfaction or contentment in our body image. And we can experience a number of these. We might lean to one more than the other in terms of our life journey, but I want us to be able to identify how these experiences shape the way in which we look at ourselves and our appearance. But we're not done, because lastly, I want us to talk about how this manifests in our day-to-day journey, right? The impact is greatly the impact can be seen greatly in these areas that I'm about to speak about. One is our relationship with food. Now, if we're struggling in our mental script, if we have certain life experiences, if we're hearing certain messages, we can have unhealthy relationships with these different areas. One of them is food, whether that be overeating, overindulging, undereating, restricting, binging, and everything in between. Counting calories, weighing food with the intent of having control over our body and our body image in ways that are unhealthy. We need to be able to assess that and have a healed relationship with food, because food's not done with it. Food's not going anywhere. We have to partake, but looking at the way in which body image is related to that, I think is important. Another interesting relationship that we might have is with exercise. Now, exercise should be incorporated into everyone's life as a healthy way to maintain or to constantly be in a journey of health and mobility, and being able to look at if our motivation or if our intention for exercise is rooted in unhealthy body image. We might overindulge, we might avoid it altogether. We might have constant intentions of losing weight, losing weight, losing weight to fit into this dress, to impress this person, gaining weight to be able to fit the body image that we have in our minds or that we've seen on Instagram. And another relationship that's impacted with our body image is our relationship with clothing. Now, I mentioned this a little bit in the first video, right, where my life journey has transitioned from dressing like a tomboy to dressing like a video vixen to starting my faith journey and dressing like a pilgrim or a Mormon, whatever you want to call it, right? Like, our relationship with clothing is often tied to our body image and our appearance, what we're attempting to accentuate, what we're attempting to hide, especially when we're not in the journey of emotional wellness or being healthy as yet. So it's something important for us to look at, right? Are the comments from others impacting the clothing or the attire that we choose? That's related to the last one, which is our relationships with people. Yes, even our relationships with people are impacted by our body image. What we might see as comparison, mentioned earlier, even wrestling with compromise within romantic relationships can be tied to our view of our body and our body image. Also, seeking affirmation, right, within our relationships or those that are around us and our peers. So, to sum all of this information up, I know it's a lot, but the idea that our mental script, the way that our belief systems, the messages that we receive externally from all these different areas, our life experiences, they show up and they manifest in the areas that I mentioned. Because, for my 828ers, it's all connected. It's all connected. We need to be able to take an inventory and reflect, right? That's your homework for this week. Reflect on how these have impacted or influenced you. I definitely plan to tie it all together in the next video on body image, to walk in ways with healthy confessions around our body image, and to reclaim our body as holy and righteous and an instrument for God's use. I love you so much. I hope that you're encouraged and you share this content with someone else. Shameless plug, I got new merch from my girl, Journey with Janae, and make sure you check in the description box below for a link to her merch. I love you so much. Go forth and shine your light. Bye!